I will talk with you about what is happening in the Netherlands in the field of sustainable diets. And I live in the city of Delft, and this used to be my neighbor, the milkmaid. And it's from the golden age in history. And exactly, it's more bread maid. She's preparing porridge from old bread. And this painting stands for moderation, this typical Dutch food culture. And there's another painting from a later period from the potato eaters. And actually, it's more the coffee drinkers, you see? These are the coffee drinkers. And this picture stands for food as a fuel for labor. And this is also a typical Dutch. And you see that culture is very strong because potatoes, coffee, bread, milk are still the highest consumption in the Netherlands in Europe. This takes me to another period, the Second World War. Then we have a shortage. We have a problem with food security. In this period, our institute started, funded by the Ministry of Agriculture, to give information to the people how to prepare sugar beets and tulip bulbs. But nowadays, our mission has changed to provide information and encourage consumers to make healthier and more sustainable food choices. And I want to explain our position. We are funded partly by the Ministry of Health and Agriculture. Here's our nutrition center. Government also Ministry of Environment. There's a health council, I come back to it later on, and there's a scientific board on governmental policy. I will mention it also later on. So this is our position. We are funded by the government, but we are a foundation. What about our culture in the lowlands? We are part of the German language family, and we are close to Britain, as you know. Hopefully, but with a different other culture than the Roman countries, you know, and because there's the religious background disorder, we have a Calvinistic religion like the Scottish. It's very close to the Lutheran religions in Germany and the Nordic countries, but our climate is also the same. It's a more moderate, temperate ocean climate, and a lot of rain, of course, like here. And this is the historical diet of the lowlands in the beginning of the last century. And this is typical diet for one day. And if we optimize this diet slightly a bit, it's very healthy and low climate impact. And if you compare them with other diets like the Mediterranean or the Nordic diets, it's even more sustainable and equal healthy as them. So we don't have to change to diets from other countries. We can go back to our roots with the more sustainable lowlands diets. But what has happened in the last decades that we see enormous growth in consumption of dairy, pork, and poultry and other animal products. So our diets have changed. And this resulted in a high intake of animal protein and also saturated fats with their effects on health. And this consumption of high consumption of saturated fats you see in all German-speaking related countries with a high consumption of dairy and meat. We have another problem. We are in the knot of the agro-food trade network, very high in agriculture trade, and the problem is that within existing policies, economical values and free trade and business interests have a dominant role. So we still rule the waves. And we see here that's a problem because other values has a less dominant role, values like sustainability and health. And this is a quote from a report that came this summer from the scientific board for the policy, for governmental policy. And another quote from this paper, from this advice, is that food production support by government can no longer be separated from health issues. And they say that the explicit food strategy is needed, including ecological sustainability, health and resilience of the food network. But what have to be done? Should we inform consumers, as we now do? Should we more nudge them or be more a nanny state? That's a debate going on in the Netherlands. And a last quote from this report I want to give you is that to anchor health and ecology in food policy firmer, it's important to organize more institutional opposition against the economical forces.
So this was a government report?
This was an official advice to the government, and they have to respond to it early next year. Yeah. But there was some limited attempt to make a food policy. In 2009, we had this sustainable food paper, and from the Ministry of Agriculture, and she said we want to tempt the consumer to opt for sustainability, and there must be more sustainable products available in the market. So it was a weak strategy, but there was someone. And 2009 was an exciting year, because in the same year, Setting the Table came out from Tim, also the paper from Sweden about sustainable diets, also the German paper. So this was an important year for this debate. A year later came the Finnish paper, and also the Italian double pyramid model. And in 2011, the Livell plate came. Also a paper from Belgium, and the advice from the Dutch Health Council on ecological impact of healthy diets. And in the conclusion of this advice was that, in general terms, the guidelines for healthy diet is not only good for health, but also beneficial in terms of land use and greenhouse gas emissions. And they gave two important advices for the consumer. The first is to eat less animal-based and more plant-based diet. And the second is, if you consume too much energy, if you are overweighted, and that's almost half of the population in the Netherlands, you have to reduce the energy intake, especially from energy-dense products. For the future, I want to give you 10 ingredients of hope. The first is that this Health Council will come up with new dietary guidelines next year. And they promise to include this less animal-based, more plant-based dietary patterns. And the second is the question about the fish. We want to the recommendation to eat 2 portions of fish per week warrants reconsideration. And if these guidelines are there, we want to develop a new Eat Well plate, Wheel of 5 for the Netherlands, based on these recommendations. The other ingredient of hope is that an official government's website stimulates meat-free days. We call it flexitarians. It's the Ministry of Environment. The third is that we see a decrease in meat consumption since 2010, not only in weight of meat consumption, also in frequency. The frequency is now 4.6 days a week in average. The fourth is that we see an increase in the consumption of tap water. And this increase is also goes together with a decrease in consumption of soft drinks and beer. So this is important for the sustainability of our diet. The fifth is that we saw last year an increased consumption of certified foods to 6% market share, and especially a growth in the certified sustainable seafood, up to 85% market share. So this is an important development, and all this resulted in a reduction in environmental impact of the Dutch consumption over 12 years. This is from the official dietary surveys. And you see a decrease both for men and women. And we see a raise in awareness about food waste. The volume of food wasted is still at the same level, but we see an increase in the number of consumers who want to intend to reduce food waste. And we did a lot of effort to raise this awareness, for instance, with the Feeding 5,000 in Amsterdam. This is also nice. In 2016 will be the United Nations Year of the Pulses, and we set up a Dutch committee to make a real campaign about pulse consumption for 2016. And this is one of the solutions for a more sustainable diet. And this one is we see also a revival of the traditional and local products. For instance, we see rapeseeds back on the fields and rapeseed oil back in the supermarkets. And the last one I want to mention is that there's a movement about Dutch chefs, and they call it Dutch cuisine. And they have an 80-20 rule. They say we want to make meals with 80%, which are 80% plant-based and 20% meat or fish, and 80% regional products and 20% import. So, and this looks a lot like the lowlands diet I showed you, the optimized lowland diet. And but with these 10 ingredients of hope, we are not yet at the level of a sustainable diet. There need to be next steps. And my conclusion is that with the report, I want to say it's time for an explicit food policy to achieve sustainable diets. And maybe we have to work together with the countries who are close to our Dutch culture, like the Britons and the Northern countries, and work together scientifically, but also politically. Thank you for your attention.